We know that Disney is going to have a tough time of it in 2024 when it comes to the box office and actual release side of things, but what about in the executive suites? What about down there at the corporate offices? Well, it's just about, if not more tumultuous than what could be happening for the paying public. Bob Iger prepares for Ike's pirate ship to fire at Disney. Who's Ike? What's his pirate ship? All of that will become a lot more clear as we take a look at this article right here, just kind of spelling the end of Disney as we know it, as ousted Marvel mogul Ike Perlmutter, an investor. It's kind of funny once you end up learning what his motives are, that he just wants to go back to making Disney a money-making endeavor and not an ideological echo chamber. Yeah, he's an investor, though, whatever. Enlist former Disney executive Jay Rasulo in their quest to reshape the studio, sorry. Now the CEO faces a somewhat more credible challenge to his reign because, about this time last year, Nelson Peltz and Ike Perlmutter were trying to launch the same type of coup that they wanted to do at the end of 2023. This time, though, is a little bit different. You broke my heart. That's what former Marvel Entertainment chairman and CEO Ike Perlmutter, who was ousted by the current Marvel boss Kevin Feige, and when that happened, in on and around the time of Captain America: Civil War, you could also take a look at the quality of films that were coming out, and you could see a precipitous drop-off. But Ike Perlmutter was a bad man because he stated obvious things like guys outside of the gangbusters characters, the gangbusters female characters, don't buy female action figures. He was painted as a racist, but then at the same time also wanted to introduce Black Panther into the MCU via Wesley Snipes. That would have been dope, but he's a racist. He's a bad man, right? But this is back in 2015. Bob Iger, according to the Wall Street Journal, Ike Perlmutter said, "Yeah, you broke my heart," when Iger made it clear in 2015 that he was not going to name the veteran Disney executive and Perlmutter favorite Jay Rasulo as his eventual successor. It's kind of funny because there was some scuttle about Jay Rasulo taking over for Bob Iger at his hand-picked selection. Like, he was being groomed by Iger himself. Very strange. He anointed Tom Staggs instead, and Staggs was out the following year. Being a potential successor was hazardous duty at Disney, at least in those days. And then, in the middle of the night, Bob Iger's first round, he's like, deuces, we're going to leave this other Bob guy in charge because I don't want to change all of the facing quite yet for when I eventually come back after the pandemic subsides. Iger's relationship with Perlmutter went sharply downhill from there, and last March, after incrementally stripping Perlmutter of his duties at Marvel, Iger ejected the contentious billionaire from the company altogether. Even before that happened, Perlmutter had backed his friend and Palm Beach neighbor Nelson Peltz in his quest for a seat on Disney's board, which Peltz and Perlmutter argue is too cozy with Iger to be effective. Oh, yeah, the racist guy that the media likes to claim is just all out for himself has a point. Peltz dropped the first run at Disney after Iger pledged to slash costs and lay off thousands of employees. This was back in February, I think February or March of 2023. Having added Rasulo to the team, the goal was to get board seats for both Peltz and Rasulo, and one must suspect eventually to install Rasulo as a CEO job that eluded him years ago. Presented with Peltz's first run at the company, it would seem very possible that shareholders would dismiss him and Perlmutter as two 81-year-olds driven by Perlmutter's quest for revenge. Or, seeing a floundering company being, led around by the nose by an absolute incompetent weatherman idiot and thinking that they could probably do it better. But, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But with Rasulo on board, they've added a respected longtime Disney executive. Rasulo had largely disappeared from the public eye, serving on various boards, including iHeartMedia, Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra. Big departure from Disney, but okay. In December 14th, statement announcing his alliance with Peltz and Perlmutter, Rasulo said, "The Disney I know and love has lost its way." Yes, and everybody has seen that, varying degrees, for a very long time. Says one Disney veteran, Jay has credibility. He's not just some Palm Beach crank. He's very legitimate voice about where Disney was 8 years ago. Ike is angry and eating 3 nights a week at Mar-a-Lago, but Jay showing up on that side is a very significant event. Oh, see, yeah, Ike Perlmutter, very vocal Trump supporter. He's a bad guy, and he's not right for Disney because they would much rather be, I don't know, dining at the kids' table at an elementary school. Iger appears to be taking the challenge seriously, enlisting reinforcements of his own. Oh, fantastic. On January 3rd, Disney secured support from the Mason Mortiff-led investment fund Value Act Capital Management, which has agreed to back its board of directors nominees as part of a strategic consulting deal. Meanwhile, shareholders in investment firms Blackwell's Capital, LLC, may be the wild card in the mix, while Blackwell's executives stated that Wednesday that Peltz should end his peacocking in a nod to backing Iger. It's like, nah, we got more money than you, though. The firm also plans to nominate its own board members, Jessica Schnell, Craig Hatkoff, and Leah Sullivan. Of course, something that holds no appeal for Disney. Interesting. The question for Disney shareholders is whether they are antsy enough at this point to take a chance on a more credible Perlmutter-backed dissidents. Those who talk of love and broken hearts is at odds with their cold-hearted reputation. Well, no, they're just trying to frame it in a way that would be more appealing to more people other than going, yeah, your stock prices have been going precipitously down for the guts of 5 years at this point. There's a problem. Before there's lawsuits that start filing, maybe we can kind of turn this shit around. It's something we could do out here. Okay, fantastic. Question for Disney Peltz is an activist investor who has swooped in on a broad assortment of companies that were seen as undervalued. Wow, somebody that has a history of turning things around. Whatever would he be doing with Disney? Perlmutter is a controversy magnet. Why? Because he's a Trump supporter? Why? Because he speaks uncomfortable truth about your business decisions? I can see why he's controversial, as with the well-established reputation for squeezing a dollar until it begs for mercy. Yeah, something that this company that is hemorrhaging billions of dollars every quarter desperately needs. Rasulo is the sort of tough executive Perlmutter would favor. One Disney veteran describes him as effective, but also a sort of blunt instrument. That's what they need right now, as he made tough budget cuts and sometimes referred to other executives as children playing at business. That makes him a blunt instrument by simply pointing out that there are children occupying very luxurious suites at a very profitable, or at least a once very profitable company. Yeah, I can see why he's ruffling some feathers over there at the very cozy House of Mouse. A Disney insider rolls his eyes at Rasulo's claims that he is jumping into the fray out of love for the company. If that was really his motive, he wouldn't try to engage in a fight along with Nelson frickin' Peltz and Ike Perlmutter, he says. Ike wants retribution and Peltz wants a fast buck. They don't give a shit about this company. Unlike the people that are in charge right now that are all too willing to engage in a culture war that has nothing to do with Disney outside of trying to use it as an ideological mouthpiece. Makes sense. Perlmutter's longtime attorney, John Terutsen, bristles at that. It's an absurd suggestion to make. Perlmutter has got, I don't know how many billions of dollars tied up in Disney. He's not going to play a revenge game with the majority of his personal wealth. Perlmutter became one of Disney's largest individual shareholders, when he sold Marvel to Disney for $4 billion in 2009. Oopsie daisy, we finally get into that. How far into this article? Terutsen says he has never sold a share. Exactly. He has personal stake in this. This isn't just a guy who's just out for revenge because he got pushed out of Marvel. I'm sure that probably has something to do with it, but then at the end of the day, he also doesn't want to see his wealth in a company that he invested so heavily in circle the drain, not while he has an ability to make a say and a stance about it. Perlmutter is very much a self-made man who was never a natural fit at Disney. Well, yeah, exactly. It's a girls' brand, and he owned Marvel. Yeah, which has always tried to front executives who present a friendly face to the public. Before Disney and other legacy entertainment companies were engulfed in troubles, Iger was the weatherman. Yes, a smooth, deft embodiment of that idea. Yes, just instead of creating new ideas, just buying up everybody else's. ESPN, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Lucasfilm, Pixar. Well, Pixar was before that, well before that, but he was out there. Fox. There you go. He was out there wheeling and dealing, spending everybody else's money till it came time to turn a profit in order to pay for all of those checks that he wrote. Oopsie daisy. For most of that time, Perlmutter presented no face at all. Photographs of him were non-existent until Donald Trump appointed him as an advisor on the Veterans Affair. Oh my God, that's a very terrible thing that he did right there. The ProPublica investigation and the allegations from House Democrats at Perlmutter and 2 other Mar-a-Lago associates. Wow, House Democrats are trying to throw mud at somebody in the Trump administration. Stop me if you've heard this one before. So yeah, him and 2 other Mar-a-Lago associates had illegally tried to influence government officials to further their own personal interests. Wow, a billionaire needing to leverage the Veteran Affairs Administration. Interesting. Yeah, sure seems to check out from the House Democrats. Yeah, at one point the Veteran Administration officials ringing the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange during an event to promote suicide prevention were startled when Captain America turned up beside them at the podium as Spooderman waved from the trading floor below. Interesting. For years, Perlmutter made waves at Disney. Part of his thrift that was extreme to the point of fishing paper clips out of the waste paper baskets. I'm sure that's hyperbolic, but okay. And there was more. Back in 2012, Financial Times reported that he had driven several executives out of Disney. Hey, Consumer's product division, including the chairman of the highly profitable unit, 3 African-American women who ended up getting caught up in their feelings, who sought financial settlements. Wow! Imagine that. 3 people that got fired wanting to get a quick buck. Okay. Another woman was moved to a different division after alleging that Perlmutter had threatened her, saying he had a bullet with her name on it. Yeah, I'm sure. Both Disney and Perlmutter declined to comment at the time. Perlmutter is known to carry a gun. Oh, yeah, of course. Was named in a 2018 bribery trial with former NYPD Sergeant David Villanueva, testified that he helped him expedite the renewal of Perlmutter's gun license. Yes, exactly. Somebody that needed to grease the wheels of an incredibly slow-moving New York Second Amendment disaster area. He would be so lackadaisical as to just simply brandish, or at least allude to brandishing his firearm that he worked so hard to get. Makes sense. When Marvel replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle. Here we're gonna go down some of these these racist things that he said. Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle in the 2010 Iron Man movie, or sequel. Sorry, Perlmutter reported to have told a Disney executive, right? He reportedly said this that this all just came to light at the time that Bob Iger wanted to push him out of Marvel. And Kevin Feige was, his handpicked successor because he was just so much nicer and everybody likes his goofy little baseball hat. That a move saved money and that no one would notice because black people look the same. Turtson says Perlmutter told him that he never made that comment. Well, yeah, exactly. This is the guy that wanted to have Wesley Snipes. Why would he specifically go with Wesley Snipes? Probably because he made Marvel. He saved Marvel from bankruptcy with the Blade franchise, and knowing that you wanted to bring in Black Panther, he was an excellent fit, still is, for that role. In his memoir, Iger wrote that Perlmutter had stood in the way of 2 of Marvel's groundbreaking films. I called Ike and I told him to tell his team to stop putting up roadblocks, and I offered to put both Black Panther and Captain Marvel into production. Well, one I can go ahead and dispute and have vociferously, and Captain Marvel, well, we've seen what happened with the popularity of that category, or of that character, outside of the confines of being squarely placed between 2 of the most anticipated films of all times. Anyways, at that point, Marvel's Kevin Feige was said to be on the brink of leaving the company. Oh no, whatever would the company have looked like if they're going to be running, because apparently Marvel's going to be, doing the whole what if season 3. What if Kevin Feige's bald ass left the company back then? That would be an interesting story. Perlmutter's attorney Turtson says that the mogul resisted Black Panther, which was the first to go into production, not because he was racist, but because it had never been done before, and its success wasn't guaranteed. In the years since Iger returned as CEO, Disney has faced numerous well-documented challenges, losing at Oh, losses at the streamer, losing billions every quarter, faltering performance in the animated films, all of their films, Marvel slump, and more. Lucasfilm's biggest disaster to date in the form of Indiana Jones, every Pixar film flopping in recent memory, the 100th anniversary special Wish coming and going like a fart in the wind. Everything that Bob Iger touches turns to dirt, and for as many lowlights and the amount of mud that the Hollywood Reporter wants to sling at Nelson Peltz and Ike Perlmutter, here's the things, homies. You're also not pointing out that when they were in charge at Disney, things were turning a profit. They were there 8 years ago when this was a reliable, a bankable family brand. Because guess what? They weren't pushing ideology for as much as you want to say, oh, they're rabid Trump supporters. They're just out there. They're trying to push a vendetta. When they were in charge, they weren't pushing any of that stuff. And Disney was the brand in Hollywood. Now that they want to come back, now that they want to upset that ideological apple cart that Bob Iger has so expertly perfected in the year since he's come back in his previous tenure, oh, now that's going to be a big problem for the people that write about entertainment for a living. You better let these guys back in through the front door. Otherwise, the industry that you so desperately want to defend from those evil right-wing bigots isn't going to be here anymore, because it's going to be as bankrupt as your guys' own personal politics. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.